Just imagine living somewhere like this. Look how congested it is, how much traffic there is. And if you're interested in rocks and things, if you're contemplating the red rain that would seem to come every 138 years, and then you contemplate all this reddish earth clay and these rock formations that sort of resemble, was it an archway? It certainly looks in places like there's a structure, but of course rock is a structure anyway. How was it formed? What caused all this in this region? Until you realise it's just a story. To quote the Teardrop Explodes song, treason once more. But there's a lot of potential here. Even this part is part of the land, it's untapped. There is plenty of sites, locations on this. You could build structures, and should you choose to come here and decide to stay here, the more of us that there are, the easier it is. This was a earth toilet. I can't really get any closer because of the ever-present bramble. But as you can see, it's earth clay and eucalyptus tree timbers. It's had some rain damage. I'm not sure how long ago it was built, maybe 5 years, but as you can see it's pretty much intact. But the principle of that, build it and they will come. Imagine you could build your dream home in this rather beautiful E-Den, and what is going to be an errant E-Den. The land across there is neighbouring land, but walk through the valley. It's I don't know if you can see it very well, but you've got Keith and Grove's open air kitchen, which they built. There's plenty of these abandoned properties, which apparently you're not supposed to live in, and you're not supposed to. There's lots of things you're not supposed to do, but it depends. Are you going to obey? Are you going to pick up a script? Or are you going to be a true errant and do things for yourself? Even these cactus, they produce a fruit. Not unlike a kiwi. They'll be coming into season soon. You have to be careful how you pick them, but I would suggest wearing gloves for that one. But the fruit is rather delicious, and of course it's free. There's grapevine, there's various other things going here. So in a worst case epoch collapse, an apocalypse scenario, you'd be in a fairly good position to survive off the land, to forage. It's a very different way of living. I would suggest it is the way to live in harmony with nature without harming many. A little play on words, but I'm sure if you've ever encountered situations with the courts where you're caught, that there is more than one type of what sounds like English, and there is definitely enforced power in words. But what do I know really? Let me take you back to where it all began. The Adam and Eve reset, you could say. I'm just a simple gardener really, metaphorically speaking, as much as taking the active steps. I am planting seeds, but I'm just a simple gardener. You wouldn't know me from Adam, is another saying. But what do I know? I of myself can do nothing, not I, but Christ within. I did the breakdown on what Christ within is. Notice it has I within that. An eon, an ion. Transition, the I on. Feel what is real. Observe what is in this reality. What can you co-create with it? What can you make of it? What can you do with it? How do you wish to spend your time? What about if you have the materials and it just requires the active steps, and you could, I don't know, you could build a house into the side of the hill. You could go up to the top. I've started a base up there. I've made videos from up there. From sort of January the 21st onwards, I think it was. Significant date. So, and of course, actually today it's quite cloudy. Possibility of some rain, which would save me watering. But, all potential. All things to vision, all things to create and take active steps, and the multiverse, the universe, whatever you want to call it, will respond to what you put out in the field from your informed field. Well, what do you know? It must be rush hour. How good does it get? Well, that's how busy it gets. And as you can see, perhaps wearing white would not be practical out here because it will turn cappuccino, the dust that is in the air. But it seems to blow in the right direction, that it doesn't have too much of an adverse effect. But that's about as noisy as it gets here as well. I don't know how well this has come out on video, but you may hear the bird song in the background. But what a beautiful move this turned out to be. It ticks the boxes straight away. Two of the mundane, the daily considerations of a roof over my head and somewhere to live, and climate that I find far more conducive than the dampness of the UK, for example. Look how straight away those three perceived problems just dissolved. But they were de-solved. They were resolved by being desolved. And all I had to do was take the active steps. And I didn't pay for the flight to get here. That was provided for through generosity from a lady in Turkey. And once again, I can say thanks to Julia from Simplicity Revealed channel, because she has been the link, she has been the thread to join the different characters in a story together to create. So as much as anything else, it is about fulfilling and showing and expressing the gratitude for the generosity that got me here. Unfortunately, the community that was of 10 fell apart, which comes down to something of huge importance with a community, and that is the recognition, the internal recognition of not being triggered, of being the captain of your vessel. You don't have to be in agreement on anything or everything, but it is about finding that common ground of mutual cooperation about co-creating. This is why you hear so many horror stories of communities disintegrating. You could say it's a version of a Big Bang Theory because it falls apart, and obviously the negative energy from that can spread out. Same blueprint to so many things, but here, look at this. This is all potential. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's not an area if you have mobility problems, and obviously off-grid living does not suit everybody and maybe does not appeal to everybody. I don't judge on that. It is down to you. But the invitation, the initial invitation, is to any of you, come and spend time here. Give yourself a week, 2 weeks, acclimatise to the environment. Experience the contrast to what is in your world at present. Maybe you're in a town or a city, maybe you are surrounded by many and yet you feel so alone. I am pretty much alone, but alone is all one. Everything is how it should be. It is just when we have thoughts and beliefs and perceptions, and I'm not saying that I don't fall for these things and that I don't have concerns and worries. Most of my concerns or worries is because of the isolation, and I have no transport, and the sensations in the body, which is a story, again, the chronic fatigue. It is something to overcome, and it is nowhere near as strong as the will, the desire, the recognition of having a mission, of having a reason for being here. I'm using these words deliberately, carefully, because they have deeper meaning than what you first hear. But do you hear, or are you here? Are you on the same page in the story? There's a lot to ponder, there's a lot to weigh up. There's a lot of challenges, like recreating the pathway that would, or the lower part that would sort of lead up to the top there, but I only have one avatar with 4 limbs. There is only so much I can do single-handedly, so it would be of an enormous benefit, and it would be mutual if this became a community of true errants, and as a pilot scheme for many more, because a big thing with this life experience is to let go of all attachments. I am not attached to the land. Physically speaking, I am not attached. I'm walking on it, but I'm not like the plant kingdom that is fixed and rooted to one singular spot. And what I gain from the experience of being here is something that can be transported. I was told a long time ago I'm a natural at permaculture, to which my reply was, well, what's permaculture? I've never heard of it. So you could say it was an intuition driven thing, because I look at plastic packaging of things, and some of it I will put to one side, or cardboard boxes and things, and it's like I can find a use for that, particularly cardboard boxes, which you might think when you get too many, well, what are you going to do with them all? Well, I'm sure you've heard of winter, and it does get a bit cooler in the winter, and there is a need to have some sort of heating, so an abundance of materials. I mean, the bramble is a perfect firelighter. If I had a strimmer, I could just annihilate all that, let it rot down or dry out, and it would make a perfect firelight. It only needs to sit for a few days in the sun, and it's because the thorns are still lethal even when you've cut bramble, which I'm sure you'll know about if you've had any dealings with it. And then there's the periodic having to dig out the thorns out of the fingers. I've got one in my thumb at the moment. It's a strange thing with these avatars where the skin will grow over. Ideally, if it goes sort of septic, you can then it forms that barrier of protection, and then you can extricate the thorn. But it's just a perceived challenge, and whose fault is it that I would get the thorns anyway? Who did it? It's about being vigilant as much as anything else. Being aware of what you're facing and what you're dealing with, especially with bramble. But even that has a huge potential, because the ashes that it would create from burning it give you nutrients, and you're giving directly back without this hidden hand wanting to take a slice of the pie but not putting anything into it, but telling you you can or you can't. Is that the path of an errant? Is that the path of the true errant? I'm using and paraphrasing the words of Archaic's channel because it's a modern day language for today. After all, you are a presence in the present. It is all about in the moment. It is about the beauty of the timing, rather than seeing the negative polarity of worrying about time and trying to create time, worrying about losing time, and so on, or chasing time, which many do because they are participants, ants in a colony which has a perception of being a prison planet. But what a negative way to perceive things. I prefer to see it as a holodeck, as a place to learn and to grow, both oneself and the seeds that are planted, and tending and looking after what you are creating and visioning. What would it be like in 20 years' time, for example? Will I still be in this location in 20 years' time? Will I have developed skills and be a wanderer and going round and saying, well, here's the experiences, here's the skill set I can bring? What a wonderful school this could be, a place to learn and grow, to learn new skills and such like. To be able to do things for oneself, to not have to be a reliant. Think of the Disney Pixar film Bug's Life. It only takes one ant to wake up, and it's game over for the parasites, for the locusts, for the grasshoppers. It's just a story like everything else, but it's a blueprint pattern story of this reality. Unless you're happy with ants pick the food and grasshoppers take the food, or would you rather ants pick the food, ants keep the food, and share equally among the other ants and work as a colony or a community living, creating a world which will develop many eggs which will go on to be kings and queens and maybe create further colonies. There is a lot that can be learnt from nature because it is the natural way. We're here to observe, we're here to co-create in it, are we not? So the story goes, but consider, what are you creating? If you're picking a side, what are you taking part in? Are you giving your light away? Are you giving your power away? Or are you Are you consciously, knowingly putting your energy into something that is benevolent and beneficial, or is it into something self-serving, or is it into something that is a belief in something you think that you may know? But in a world that is holographic and it is a perceived reality rather than a real reality, you see how it all falls down of, well, if it's just a perceived reality, well, potentially it's all true and yet not true all at the same time. We can agree to defer, and we can defer giving our attention and giving away our energy, and maybe focusing it on something far more creative. Imagine a world also where the story implies that there will be power outages. Or how are you going to listen to CDs or iPods or whatever medium you use for music? Could it be that we have to go back to the days of, in small groups, creating our own music, learning to play, taking part as a community in things, having fun? Surely that is a far better way to spend your time. That is the true currency. You're in a physical world which is chronological, like a giant timepiece. Whatever this reality is, whatever you think of this reality, you have a finite amount of time. How best are you going to spend your time? What footprint are you going to leave in this reality? It doesn't matter to me whether I'm remembered for it, because I would become just a name. And that's the main water tank there. It's just a drip feed. It's been filtered naturally. There's a pipe that goes all the way to the kitchen, gravity fed, and that's pretty much what I drink for coffee. Just boil it. I feel no harmful side effects of it, and it is, to the best of my knowledge, free from being treated. But things have a double meaning. What kind of treat is it for the avatar? And it's served with a smile. But when you consider what comes out of most taps, it's chemically treated and it's being fed back to you. What a wonderful system, all run on a business model. But beware of false prophets. It was Ken Wheeler who said that it may be quantitatively pure, what comes out the taps, but it's not qualitatively pure. And of course, what you take into the physical avatar is going to have an effect. Some things are not immediate. Some things take longer to manifest. And the first to be aware of it will be when the body is telling. But do we always listen to what the body is telling, or what the heart or the gut is telling upon the mind? That saying about always being the last to know, consider that internally. The last to know is the mind. And thinking also of a biblical quote, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Maybe consider that in the analogy I have just given. So a bit of a wonder and a ponder for this video, but I wanted to take the active steps. I've already created the vision. I've not put specific details in. I've just held the feeling of what would it be like to be in an errant Errants community amongst like-minded souls, immortal souls, the immortal souls who know they are immortal souls, who don't need anything external to prove it. That, to me, makes the being here, in this moment, here today, worthwhile in itself. The potential is enormously explosive in a very creative way, you could say. So there's some wandering and some pondering for you on a slightly more overcast and welcome cooler day. Welcome not just from my perspective, but certainly welcome by some of the plants that have been suffering rather a lot by whatever this thing that we observe and call the sun is doing. It seems a rather strange phenomenon that leaves on things can get burnt that I've not noticed until last year, and you have to wonder, well, I wonder, because it is all a wonder, but I reflect and hopefully have sufficient experience to discern what I'm observing, and instead experiencing and feeling something far more positive than what seems to be offered by a system, you could say. So once again, please consider what I've talked about in this video. Move past personalities of channels, and I'm going to say in particular Archaic's channel, because you have watertight evidence. If something is true, it can be seen from multiple vantage points. That is absolutely true. I've hopefully given further examples over videos of such. So I'm going to sit here now and upload this video. Well, the one that will be on the channel by the time this one comes up will have been uploaded. If you haven't seen that one, it's about co-creating using the resources you've got, how to vision, and how the process works, how the interactive field will respond when you take active steps. It's to quote Jason and to paraphrase Jason, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you. Well, I did show you the community seating area. I showed what it was made from, where the materials came from, and in the material sense, how little it cost. The only thing it really cost was time, but I feel it was time well spent. As much as anything else, it was valuable lessons on where I went wrong. Being able to do things with the tools and things that were available to use, and working with what I'd got at the time. So of course the roof had to be recovered, because the wind does blow through this valley quite a bit. Anyway, we're just sort of meandering a bit, but what, depending on what, it doesn't matter what calendar you use, but I'm going to say from January the 21st, because that was a significant marker. This avatar reached 20,700 shars, I tell no lie, to the day. So that is the age. That's when things seem to start unfolding in a very magical way, and it's been a fantastic ride since that time, and continues to do so, and will continue to do so. So I look forward with childlike wonder and excitement of what happens next. What's the next chapter that's now going to unfold? We've just passed the summer solstice. It's a significant marker. It may not be seen in the physical, and there may not be some change on that day, but certainly since last Saturday, the 21st of June, to me, I feel an energy shift, and a very positive one, a rebalancing of this reality and so on. So I feel this is a good place to end this video, and as always, I am going to say unconditional love to you all. Oh, sorry, there's a little footnote, because I do this every video. I forget to say, what can I offer you? Actually, no, I'm not going to say it here. I shall make a separate video on what is on offer. Let's get it all out on the table, as it were, and you can make an informed decision on what is being offered from this channel. And it is a channel, it is channeling. The words have more than one meaning in this realm, this reality. And I have had sufficient experience, and I have had sufficient proof shown to me, based upon what I feel and the evidence, not the false evidence, which is false evidence appearing real, which is fear and doubt, but to hold true. I don't get it right every time. I'm not saying I've cracked it. There is still inner work to do. I know that for certain. I've still followed a pattern of this avatar, which I hadn't realized, but now it has been pointed out to me, because that was a fruit of creating a video and voice messages and interaction and conversation, particularly with Lana A. Labonte, and I would also recommend listening to what she says on her live streams in particular, and also her readings of things like the untethered soul, which you could say is just basically another name for errant. So, to end, as always, unconditional love to you all.